When he has to get a mommy has to.
What happens today, because I've been worried about this for an entire summer. And yeah.
I noticed that you didn't give him your backpack though.
Well, it's funny, you mentioned that. I was going to, and then, but they wanted, they're like, no, but they want like a full size backpack because he needs to bring a change of clothes. He needs to bring his lunchbox in it, like a blanket, like
he's got stuff
he needs to bring. So they were pretty insistent, like it needs to be a full size backpack. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess I could keep mine.
There you go.
Yeah, not sad about that.
We should get Julie one, then we all three have you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, better than the opposite. All right, I think I've got this going because it's on Echo.
I don't know if it's supposed to be turned a certain way or not. The eyes.
Well, she said, well, it's a 360 thing, but like, so all I need, but I am gonna move it to this table to get the best possible kind of 360. You're not Becky, are you?
No, I'm not.
So
She's
what?
not able to make it.
Oh, bummer. Well, maybe she can zoom in.
She does swim teams, so I'm not sure.
Wow. So this, that's gonna be, so basically just whenever somebody talks, and once people start coming on the Zoom, it'll show their screens, but as soon as, oh, yeah, so we got somebody. Ramona. Hi. So yeah, as soon as somebody talks, it will.
Come right to me too.
And then, was there anything you wanted to pull up on a screen or anything like that?
I don't have anything.
Okay. I'm gonna pause.
Right.
I will have that.
Yeah, what happened with that?
I will have that discussion, but maybe a little bit of the way that they've been redesigned will help a little with the.
Okay.
But yeah, we
I
need
did
to.
notice there are 3 essays too. There's an annotated bibliography, a comparison contrast essay, and a revision of a writing experience, which is essentially an essay.
And David's coming, isn't he?
He said he was going to.
He said he's still here, so. hopefully he'll be
Yeah, he said he was just gonna kind of come and gauge how necessary he will be, but it sounds like.
Sounds like he is.
So.
All right, go ahead and just get started, because all I have are a few little announcement kind of things. Let's see, who do we have? Beth and Ramona, you guys can both hear? We good?
Yes.
Awesome. So thank you to Liz for setting this thing up. So we have these little owl cams now. They both intrigue me and scare me because supposedly they're going to want to start us to do high flex classes. Do you have any idea what a high flex class is?
It sounds like a really complicated cheerleading move.
A high flex class is where we offer the class like a face-to-face class, but we set this up and they have the option of showing up to the class or doing it from home. That's the new post-COVID hot thing. And I'm like, not happy. So hopefully, maybe we push that off for a little bit. So, but anyway, so hopefully David will be here in a few minutes. And this is really more of a question answer thing than anything else. And so, obviously, you know me, I'm Chuck, department head. If you have complaints, bring them to me. And I have told people to please let me know when you have weird things going on at your schools, such as some school seems to have, like, I can override my kid into a 101, even if they're not. Some schools are overloading classes. Things of this nature. One person had a little bit of arm twisting for grade inflation. I mean, these are the things that I need to know, okay? So if you email me these problems, and then I will take them up, and trust me, I will not attach your name to the conversation, because I know that can be a weird thing sometimes, when you're basically like, my administration is doing something that I don't agree with. You don't need me to be going to your administration when I'm not signing your paycheck necessarily and saying, do this. So, I will keep it anonymous. But these are things that I'm not out, I mean, we literally have 19 branch campuses basically in this department. When you look at all the high schools, all the charter schools, 5 campuses with Greenville Tech alone, I mean, we can't be everywhere, right? So I need you to let me know when you're having problems. And we thought these were taken care of, but obviously it's time to have a conversation with people a little higher up than Tamika. So we will do that if needed. Just let me know, all right? We wanna be able to help. We also have Julie. So most of you guys know Julie. Julie wave. Julie, say something and the camera will go to you.
No.
No. So obviously Julie is still, so for most of you, you'll only talk to me when there's a problem. You may not talk to Julie much at all unless I'm like, I'm not gonna be here. Your new person is this young woman right here, all right? So Liz Wilfong is our new APD for early college. So Becca has left to take an opportunity elsewhere. And so Liz will be our new APD. Julie basically does the adjuncts that are here on campus, and Liz will take care of the early college folks, okay? So she'll be your main point of contact. You will also probably talk to Liz quite a bit in the next semester, getting ready for 102, because she's also serving as our 102 lead right now. So
That I really like talking about.
yeah, that she likes talking about. So that's good. Can you do me a favor and go see if he's in his office?
Will it be the same as last semester?
No, it's very different.
Oh, it's totally different.
Okay.
So
But
the good news, I mean,
I
there's,
think it's good. I'm excited about it.
Good.
I think a lot of people are. The good news, bad news is, as I told people this morning, this is a year of change. Lots of stuff's changing. We're moving, of course, you guys are already familiar with Ultra as far as Blackboard goes. We're moving to Proctorio for online. If you have online proctoring, we're moving to this thing called Anthology, which will be changing everything from billing to enrollment to registration to scheduling. I mean, just lots of change. And one of the major changes is David and Liz have worked extremely hard on getting the 101 and the 102 kind of, not a full redesign, but a pretty hefty redesign with a lot of new thought behind it as far as grading goes, as far as the assignments go. I think you will find that the students will find it more engaging. And I think that you will find it easier to handle as far as the grading load goes and the stuff like that. The focus is less on pointing out mistakes and letting them practice becoming confident writers. I think that's one way you can kind of sum it up. So this is David. David, say something.
Something.
There you go. So hopefully when you talk, the camera like shows you.
Oh,
So-
yeah, that's,
Yeah, that's why.
I'm here.
So-
I thought we were in a different room.
Oh, gotcha. Were you downstairs?
Yeah.
141 again. Yeah, we're not gonna do the computer stuff for
Okay.
this session, unless people just necessarily need to.
But
so-
there already have been some questions about it.
Yes, so David is our new 101 lead, and so he will be able to answer questions about that. And he's also basically the chairperson of the Common Read Committee. So I'm not sure, I think, you guys have probably been told, our Common Read book changes every year. So this year it is spare parts, okay? It's a little shorter, it's nonfiction, but it's a nonfiction narrative. So I think your students will be able to handle it perfectly well. I have copies of these, so if you all need copies, I will hand you copies before you leave tonight. If other people need copies, you can swing by and grab one. We can see if you're near a branch campus or something. But anyway, I have copies for you, so you don't have to go buy everything. But this is what you'll be working on in 101 this year. So I guess for all of you, it'll basically just be for the fall, because you'll then be switching to 102s
I teach it in
in
the
the
spring.
spring. Do
I
I?
teach it in the
So
spring.
you're the school that has
Well, we have 101 in the.
a spring.
We're the
101.
third
All
ones.
right, so anyway, that will be there. So David can answer some questions about that. Liz can answer some questions about early college in general, if you have some, or take notes to be able to go find
I'm
answers.
gonna tell you the same thing I told the morning group, like, I made it, like, ask me any question you want, and my answer will probably be, I don't know, but I will find out and get back to you, and I will get back to you.
She's been on the
Okay,
job.
that's-
You may not find out.
That's my guarantee. Well, I'll ask every single person I can find whether they have the answers to the question, but I will get back to you. That much I can guarantee. So please don't hesitate to ask.
I mean,
Just
she's been on
can't
the
promise
job
you I'll
8
never
days,
know.
so.
I will text Julie, I will text Chuck, I will call Corey Walter, I will go meet Tamika finally and bring her a muffin basket to get me some answers. Swallow it down. Swallow it down.
This is why we created an APD to deal with that.
Love
So, all right, so just a few little announcements, and then if you have questions for either of these two, we can get to it. So there is the common read, just so you know, my notes are all erased. So, great.
What do you need?
All that stuff from this morning, I left on there as a reminder of what I wanted to announce today. So,
Oh, okay.
so there is
a
a,
PD session.
there's a PD session
Yeah.
was up there. There is a common read PD session that David is conducting tomorrow afternoon on Zoom at 1 o'clock, which is basically just teaching the common read. All right, so if you can log on to that, you send out the.
I sent out the link, so there's a Zoom link, so, so anybody with that link should be able to.
Are you gonna record it?
I'm gonna record it, so if you can't be there,
Okay,
I'll
'cause we're
I'll
teaching
also,
this,
yeah, that's true. So I'll send out the video link. to
Thank
everyone.
you,
Have you guys started already? When did you start? This week?
Monday, yeah.
They've been doing college essay writing, resume writing, all this stuff, so
Gotcha. All right.
we didn't need to worry about it.
Something I brought up with the group earlier today that was a concern to me is that I had 5 students come to me this summer alone talking about documentation and how they had been told that if they paraphrased it enough into their own words, it was okay just to put a works cited entry, but they didn't need a citation. And I'm hoping that we all know that's patently wrong, right? But it was 5 different students that had 10 different teachers. And so I don't necessarily know that they were telling the truth, right? I mean, they could have just been, but I'm like, 1, I would have been like, yeah, okay. 5, I, as a department head, get a little bit worried, right? So one of the things that we're thinking about doing this year as part of our PD committee, right, is doing like a little bit of pedagogy stuff and possibly doing a session on documentation. Like making sure we're teaching it the same way, what rules you use, some good sites to use, things of that nature.
And we could add, the other thing I was thinking about earlier was, when we talk about the Adjunct website, because I imagine we're gonna look at that before we leave tonight,
Yeah,
but again, we can add a tab for those kinds of resources.
so we can do that. And we can also, we tried this once before, but we didn't have like an Alcam to where people could like join virtually and everything else. I am perfectly fine with having like adjunct meetings a couple times during the, but we can also do like that PD session. Even if we do it as a department here on campus, we can redo it again in the evening so that you guys can, you people, you all,
Folks.
the whole gender thing, right? Make sure that you can participate in it. If you are interested in that, just email me and let me know, all right? And I will be happy to set up sessions where we can just have a check-in, we can talk about documentation stuff. I know, again, when we have so many high schools, I want to make sure that you don't feel like you were just being left out there all by yourselves. You are as much a part of this department as anybody. You are a huge chunk of our English sections. I mean, a lot of our students are with you guys now. So we want to make sure that you feel supported and everything else. That being said, you may have seen an email about something called 40X. Did you guys see an email with that? It went out today. 40X is this thing that we have to do as a school where we have like wildly something goals. It's called wildly important goals, right? And we have to do these every semester.
It's
This
for corporate, it's
semester-
designed for corporations.
Uh-huh.
It's like a,
Yeah, it's a corporate
It's a
thing. It's like a
corporate-
Franklin Covey kind of.
yeah, goal
That's
setting,
right.
data collect, it's very corporate.
Yeah.
But at school.
So ours this fall is adjunct support. So all of you have been teamed up with a full-time faculty member that will contact you weekly about with an email or anything, and you can meet with them on Zoom or, whatever you want to do. And so that email basically has who you are paired up with, all right? So all of you have a full-time faculty member to ask questions about, and that kind of thing this semester as well.
So they will from what I understand, your instructor mentor, faculty mentor will contact you. So they didn't get the email, only full-time faculty got the email.
Oh, did they not get it?
They did not get it. So what we got was the list of who we've been matched up with, the contact person, and then instructions to reach out this week. So you'll be hearing from this week or next week, first week.
I heard from somebody today.
You did?
And
Okay,
it-
well,
and
look,
it-
it's already working.
Yeah.
And more than likely, some of you may not hear till next week, because I think it officially starts
Yeah.
week 1 for us, which is next week. But if you haven't heard from a mentor by the end of next week, you need to email me
Mhm.
so I can look into that, all right? So hopefully that will connect you to us a little bit more. We can do this a little bit more. Again, we want to try to engage you as much as possible and support you as much as possible, including going and meeting about enrollment caps. All right. Please make sure, I told everybody this, please make sure that you are keeping up with attendance tracking. As it is, there's 2 days after the class, I start getting emails, and there are some nights I get 16 emails of 16 different instructors that haven't entered attendance. And it just gets old, all right? So please just make sure that you are tracking attendance the way you need to. And for you all so much, we have a thing about canceling classes. We don't get to do that much, right? So all of you being early college, because I don't think we have any, even on the line, we don't have any, of our adjuncts that teach on campus here. You're all dual enrollment instructors. So that's not a problem. But even if let's say that we get inclement weather and your school closes, you should still have something in your back pocket to post online so that they can do an online assignment. Never use the C in attendance tracking for cancel class, because that actually counts against them as an absence. I don't know why it does that, but it does. So you need to have something for instructional continuity to where even if classes are canceled for inclement weather, that just means they're not showing up to the physical class. They still need to do something that day. That doesn't mean it needs to necessarily be due that night. That was a question earlier today. Well, if we have class at like 12 something, is it due at 11 o'clock that night? You can definitely just make it due the next day kind of thing. But it needs to be something that you can count for attendance.
Yeah, because if they don't attend class for 14 consecutive days, they're withdrawing.
And that's
No
14.
exception. And that's why the cancel class thing is the same as an absence, because, I mean, it includes holidays. If the 14 days overlaps Thanksgiving, they're still withdrawing.
If it snows the Tuesday before Thanksgiving and you put C in there and they miss that week for something else, they get put out because we're not here Thanksgiving. So yeah, it's calendar days, so.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that
just-
goes for sick days as well.
Yep. Yeah, because even if the adjuncts we have here, if they're sick, that's fine, we get that. There still needs to be something put on there that they can just do. Just don't use the C for cancel class. None of you need to worry about the fact that, I don't know if any of you tried to park over here. Did anybody of you, can you come in here? This parking lot is completely closed now, forever, because that's where they're gonna build a new building. So we will have a new building in that parking lot 2 years from now. So that's good at least. I don't think, as far as anything else goes, I don't really have any other real announcements. So I want to kind of turn it over to David and Liz. The one thing that you should expect is at some point this year, Liz will contact you about an observation. And it may be Liz, but it may be your mentor as a designee, if it's this semester too.
Oh, well, I didn't know
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That's important information for me as well.
It can be a designee, and I'm okay if the mentors, it's a full timer, so. Because
It's
it's
gonna
a lot
save me a lot of.
it's a lot of
time.
places to get
Yeah,
to.
I was like,
yeah.
how am I gonna do this?
Yeah.
But now I know, I won't.
All right, so, Beth, Ramona, any questions from you guys so far? Or are you good? You're
Can't hear you,
muted.
Amanda. You're muted. That's okay.
I'm fine. I'm good. Thanks.
Do the students, where do this, I can't remember where the students get the copy of the Common Read, but they just order it on
So-
Amazon?
Thing is, and David can correct me if I'm wrong, all of your schools are supplying the books and the supplies for the students. So that's gonna be two things this time around. An access code on a little card for Achieve, and then the Common Read book. And it is our understanding that those things will be delivered to the schools in
Yes.
order for you to then distribute.
Yes.
So the schools are supposed to be taking care of it and getting them to the school, like our bookstore and everything else is supposed to be coordinating, getting it to your schools.
Right. And
Don't know when exactly.
yes, well, I mean, hopefully by the beginning of classes. They don't, that is also okay, because for Achieve Access, students can still register for a trial, 2-week access. I mean, they can only use that trial once, but they can register for a trial 2-week access to cover whatever lapse there may be in the access codes being delivered. And then spare parts, we don't begin spare parts until about week 8. So we're not starting spare parts at the very beginning of the course, because I wanted to devote the beginning of the course more to writing and grammar and sort of the foundations of writing before we get into the reading.
And those are the only 2 texts, Achieve and
Yes.
spare parts.
So the Bedford handbook is embedded in Achieve as an e-handbook.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you still have the Bedford handbook. It is still the exact pagination from what I understand. It's just going to be in that electronic format rather than a print format.
And it has been confirmed that it looks good on a phone, so if they are allowed to use those in class and pull stuff up on phones in class, they should be able to access the ebook in good quality.
They are also supposed to be able to access that ebook for 2 years. So once they access code, it's supposed to be good for 2 years. So they'll still use it in 102 as well, as far as, well, they need to look at the documentation too.
What they will need to do, and I'll send a reminder about this towards the end of the semester, they do need to download the ebook in order to have that continued access. So in other words, they will not continue to have access to the Achieve course for 2 years.
Right.
But they will have an option of downloading the ebook, and then they will have the ability to access that download for 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if they are gonna do the trial kind of thing, make sure that they are doing it through the Blackboard shell, not outside of the shell,
Yes.
third party.
Yeah,
They need to
everything
do it
they do
within
in
the
Achieve
class.
needs to begin with the Blackboard shell, with the links that are in the Blackboard shell.
So I was told that for spare parts, they would only give us a class set.
What?
Yeah, and so I've been telling my kids they can get it, because I have 4 classes. So I don't know if that was just.
Okay.
But.
I don't, we were told it was gonna be a fight and he was gonna try.
Okay, well, it's a required book, and they keep saying they're gonna buy the required book, so. I guess this is something,
Was purchasing.
Liz, when you got email to me, got that.
On it.
Yeah, I mean, it may not be, because it's the district who has decided to fund the books, is what I'm understanding, so I mean, it may not be Tamika's,
No, but she's
anything
supposed
she
to
can
be the
control,
one in
but
charge
she-
of.
Yeah,
I mean, I would rather than have the Achieve access code, like if I had to choose, they can buy a $10 book, but.
Right.
yeah.
But they should, I mean, if the school says they're buying the books, that's the book too, so.
Yeah.
But we'll see, we'll look into it. But if you wanna go ahead, because honestly, some of them are starting it next week. I don't know that these are gonna be to you by Monday, so if that's the case, you may wanna go ahead and buy it, so. All right, I'm just going to let Liz and David speak.
I'll email Tamika tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine.
I doubt she's gonna respond to that. So.
Oh, I'm sorry, one other thing I have. You are still invited to be on our PD committee, on our Sunshine Committee, and on our Blue Granite Review Committee. Liz may want to tell you the access, the email, the
Yeah.
URL to the Blue Granite Review.
I want to make sure that folks on the,
Yeah.
I'll put it in the
So-
chat. I'll put it in the chat when I'm done putting it on board, but, so Blue Granite Review is our student magazine that is, fine arts. The art department handles all the art submissions and all that they do. And, the creation of the journal. They do a beautiful job. Very professional, looking really nice. So we recently updated our website to be more in keeping with what a great job they've been doing, because ours was getting a little rinky dink, but we handle all of the creative writing submissions. We don't accept everything that comes in. We're actually quite, here, come to one of our meetings, you'll see, we're quite particular about what gets in. It's fun, you should come to one, you should be on the committee. It's very cathartic. But we get some very good poetry, short fiction, occasional plays from theater classes. So our website is bluegranitereview. Yeah, if you want to be on the committee, I know you're like have a million things to do, but if you want to be on the committee, it's a pretty fun one to be on. We also have recently created an Instagram account. My intern hasn't been around this summer, so there's not a whole lot in there, but I'm trying to post to it weekly. It's GT, so if you're on Instagram, it's a great way to follow us, GTCBGR. So yeah, check it out. It looks really good. We've been working hard on it, and I think it's turned out really nicely. So I'm gonna put that stuff in the chat for the two folks who, and for anybody who is watching the recording later, and then I'll hand it over to David for, did you have other? Yeah.
And also just know that your students can submit to the Blue Granite Review. So
Yes,
that you
if
just-
they're college
They
students
are-
with us.
they are GTC students, so they can absolutely submit to the review.
So,
Tell them to follow us on Instagram, please. We need followers.
okay, so, yeah, so there's a few things that, you know, that everybody here, first of all, should have, I mean, we're gonna see me if I stand, where should I stand so I'm
It should,
owl
It's supposed to come to you.
approved? It should just come to me like this, okay.
360.
All right, so anyway, so you all should have gotten many emails at this point from me about Chief and about Concourse and about Blackboard and the start date. So, you know, so I just want to touch on, you know, some of the kind of important things that people need to make sure they're doing. And all the details are in the email, and I'm happy to answer questions about all of it, but Achieve is the number one thing. I want to make sure that everybody here should have at this point an Achieve account. All right, so even if you didn't take the steps to sign up for an Achieve account, you should now have one, because I ended up going through the people with Achieve, because some people were getting their account requests rejected, so I just went in and sent them all the email addresses that I needed accounts for, and they just went ahead and made sure that all those accounts now exist. So everybody has an Achieve account. So the next step is to make sure that your Blackboard section is linked to that Achieve account. All right, and so in the emails I sent out instructions and a video for how to do it. You can find the instructions in the For Instructors folder in Blackboard. But essentially, you know, if you go in that folder, there is a link, and it says, I believe, you know, integrate your course with Achieve here with using this link. And so you click the link, and you don't have to enter a password or anything at that point, because the Gmail address that you use for your account is the same as that is linked in your Blackboard account. So so at that point, it will send you to a page, and you have to choose between Launchpad and Achieve. Make sure you choose Achieve. And then, you know, then you will then see a list of your sections. So what you then need to do is make sure that you remember which section you were working in. Because at this point, you've gone into a new window from Blackboard. So you might need to go back and look at Blackboard and double check to make sure you know which section you're in, because the Blackboard section needs to match the Achieve section. And once you've chosen the section, you click Associate. Now you're linked. And if everything goes according to plan, you know, you should then be good for your students, you know, once they have their access codes, or, you know, if they don't have their access codes yet, they're just going to do trial access, that they can then go into Blackboard, click the link that's set up for them, and and then enroll in the Achieve section. And it should be, and we've piloted this. So, you know, there was only 5 of us who did the piloting. Now there's a lot more, but, you know, we've piloted it. You know, once we get the students sort of connected in Achieve, it largely ends up running itself, meaning that they do the assignments at Achieve. You know, they go through the link in Blackboard to get to Achieve. They do the assignments. The assignments are graded within Achieve, and the grades are transferred over to Blackboard.
Okay, so I think
Ramona's
Ramona's
got
got a question
Okay.
about
Yes, sorry.
linking the two.
Well, your directions were great, and it wasn't very hard. Unfortunately, I have 4 sections, and the sections, like it said, JJ3 first. Well, I accidentally, mistakenly, linked my JJ3 with the JJ1, and so now I have to fix it. And so I called the Macmillan. She didn't know. Is there a way to fix it?
So there is a way. Yes, I mean, you can go in and you can unlink this section. It might be easier for me to just go in and do it for you, though.
Okay. That worked.
Because it's a little, I mean, I'd have to like, come up with give you like detailed instructions for how to get to it, and it might just be easier for me to do it.
I went to the help thing and followed the instructions, but what the instructions said were not correct.
Yeah, could you just send me an email?
Sure.
And, you know, can you unlink my blank section? Just let me know which section to go into and unlink.
Okay.
And I can go in and do that in your section and then email you back and saying it's done. You can now relink it.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. All right. Any other questions over on this side of the room? Okay. So, all right. So Achieve. So you want to make sure your Achieve sections are linked. The concourse syllabus, I had an email out that I needed you to update some things on the concourse syllabus and the materials, grading scale and schedule section. And I also posted a video for how to do that. So make sure that you remember to update your concourse syllabus. The concourse syllabus, by the way, it's, you know, they, I mean, essentially, like that's the document in Blackboard. Once you sort of updated it, you know, you really, and it's there and it's ready, you hardly really have to go into it again. It's there, it has all the policy information. I often will, you know, if I have a student who has a question and I need to go back and review the policy, you know, that's the only other time that I really use concourse syllabus, but it's there for the students. But you want to make sure that that looks good, that's updated, and then the other thing we talked about, the Achieve access. The other thing is the start dates for the courses. So yes.
Concourse syllabus. I think I remember from last year that there is a way to do it once and put it for all your classes. Do you address that in the video? Okay.
Yeah, you just copy it over.
Okay.
And you can pick the specific sections you want and I'll copy them.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, well, we had a question about this before. Maybe you should try this. So if we sort of change something in one section and copy over to the next section, is that gonna work? Or is that gonna replace what's already there? Or is that going to mess everything up?
If you do it in one and then you copy into another way, it should replace what's.
It should replace, okay, so you're not gonna end up with like two.
Shouldn't,
Yeah, that would save us like an hour in the lab.
because when I was putting
Okay.
for policies in, I just did that on templates. And it was fine.
Well, we weren't sure. And we were like,
We spent so much time on that today. We don't get. We Rhonda.
No, I don't address that in the video. But I'll go and look at that. I'll send that.
I'm sure I can figure it
There's a
out.
copy button, and then you just select
Okay.
the courses, and then you can select which parts you want, and then
Yeah,
it'll just
All right, I gotta see this for myself, because now I'm gonna be like, it was right there all along.
Yeah.
There it is, I got
Okay, so, all
We're
right.
going out, we're getting drunk.
Okay, so speaking of that.
Speaking of going
Start dates, so your courses are all starting August 29th. All right, because everyone here is teaching at one of the high schools. So, the course is set up to begin on the 22nd, to begin next week. All right, so the due dates, and I'll send out an email about this, so, you know, so you may already know what I'm gonna say, but, so the due dates, you know, begin next week, the assignments are, and that's within Blackboard and within Adjunct. So, so you have a couple of options. You know, I sent out a course plan that with a new schedule that begins the week of August 29th, that basically just takes the first 3 weeks of the course and condenses that to 2 weeks. So what you would then need to do is go through those assignments for the first 3 weeks, and mostly the assignments in weeks 2 and 3 change some of those due dates. But you would need to do this in Blackboard and in Achieve, because there's a couple of assignments. It's actually easier in Achieve to change assignment dates than it is in Blackboard. So it's not hard to do. I'm going to try to put together a sort of short video showing you how to do it. But if you sort of just play around, I mean, in both cases, if you are able to sort of get to the assignment and figure out how to edit the assignment, and in both cases, there's one of those 3 dot menus that you click to edit the assignment. Once you get there, it's actually really easy. So, you know, the more complicated thing is that it's set up as 3 different modules, and you know, so if you want to make it into 2 modules, you're going to have to move some things around to do that, and sort of change some of the, you know, each module is set up with sort of a module overview with here are sort of the tasks and content for each module. So you might have to go in and edit that as well. All right. The other option is, you know, because I don't know what the situation is with, you know, sort of at your high school and with the students who are taking your classes, if, you know, if they're actually like they're at the school and in a study hall during your time. If you have your students there and most of your students are in Blackboard and you want to get started next week, it's kind of the path of least resistance, right?
So long as you aren't grading anything or taking attendance for GTC.
Okay.
Nothing can be
Yes,
graded
good point.
next week.
Well, there's no grade book in their shelves yet anyway, is there? Do they have the J sections? Do they have grade books in there? I feel like I went into one that's in.
No, because you weren't in there.
Oh, I wasn't in there to start grade, yeah.
So,
They should be just like ours, like.
So again, you said to take the first 3 modules and complete in the first 2 weeks.
and you're basically condensing that into the first 2 weeks. So the first 2 weeks, so in other words, the first 2 weeks are a little more packed than I, you know, would have initially liked. But the only other option is to redistribute all the assignments, and now you can change all the due dates and all the modules. And so this is the best way to do it. And so, but you know, like I said, I mean, if your students are there and you know, and you want to try to just stick to the plan, that's the other way. But yeah, so you can't do attendance. So I mean, if they have,
And they can't do attendance just because you actually won't have to.
yeah, you don't have to do attendance. I mean, like really, but the assignments are due at the end of the week anyway, so they wouldn't be putting in grades that week anyway. This is the end of the week. The real issue with that, and this is part of the reason why they bumped it back a week, is that not all your students may have Blackboard access. Okay. So that's really part of, you know, the consideration here is that if 2/3 of your class can't access Blackboard, then, it probably doesn't make sense to start next week. So, but if it's a handful of students and you can adjust due dates for those students and give those students a little bit of extra time for some of the assignments, it might work better that way than trying to, push everybody else through 3 weeks of content in 2 weeks.
And I do want to let you know that that decision was a GCS charter school and early college decision. It is not an English department decision. This is every dual enrollment class that we offer, from us to career centers to everything. So this is not something which is also why we assumed early college would be disseminating this information to your high schools, and then the high schools would disseminate that word. I'm so tired of talking today. To you, that should have been cascaded down the line. Obviously, it wasn't too well, but just know that, this is a college and county decision, not a department one. So I know it's a little awkward. This is in response to the fact that we had 498 students that weren't enrolled in English classes alone the first day of classes last year, which I'm sure you remember how that went.
Yeah.
Now, why they couldn't decide to get things done sooner instead of pushing things out later, or that's beyond me, and I can't do anything about it. But this was the decision that was made.
Yeah, and, the early college students end up getting pushed to the end of the list when it comes to processing, because the college knows that we're not likely to lose those
Well,
students.
the high schools are now enrolling students, not us. So your high school counselors are actually putting them in classes. You should also go ahead and note that this will be, it is. This is why you're having, because I don't get to control those caps by us taking care of the enrollment. And I don't get to review that they actually belong in that class. This is a problem, and this is something we'll try to discuss. You might as well go ahead and know that this is gonna be the same for January. So whatever our start date is for January, you guys will be starting a week
We
later.
already started.
Do what?
We already started later.
The regular one, then you might be, your first day will be fine, but you're not gonna start with
That's
that.
actually because of
Oh,
the 2 weeks of
yeah.
first
But then,
semester
but when do you do exams though?
What do you mean?
before Christmas break.
Okay, so you do
Yeah.
exams
Oh,
before
yeah.
Christmas break.
Yeah.
Okay. So it could be that it's, you gotta start
Then
on
we
there.
start on the right day.
Yeah.
Could we just tell the students to ignore it's late thing? Couldn't they, instead of changing the due dates,
Well-
couldn't they just wait technically?
Well,
to do it?
how many assignments are you having?
Or will it, I haven't even looked, but will it close out where they can't
I mean,
access
shouldn't they be
it?
able to go in and change two
Yeah.
assignment
So there
dates
was,
to the
I already,
next week
I
and
already
be
did
done?
that. There was one in Achieve, so I did that one. It was the pretest or
Yeah,
practice
so there-
test.
yeah.
And then I think it was a
There's
discussion board and orientation. Yeah.
there's four assignments.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
I would just
easy.
change
Yeah.
week one assignments to be due week two. You can start talking about them week one,
Okay.
but they're not due till the next week.
Okay.
That's gonna be the way to go.
Thank you.
That's what I did.
Okay.
Then you're not changing modules around. I mean, you're basically just pushing out due dates for a week, the first week of class, and it'll be fine.
You got a question?
Yes, question. Sorry.
I didn't know I was up on the Promethean board. Going back to what Chuck was saying about some people are getting into the program without meeting the requirements. How,
That is the rumor.
all right, because there's no way for us to know that. I mean, they just show up on our roster, and I'm assuming that the counselors took care of that.
Yes.
So there's no way for us to check, right?
No. There's no way for me to check right now. This is a problem.
Okay.
Instead of just technically
No one's
figuring
asking
that.
everybody.
Multiple measures makes
you
it
have?
easier, but I've heard from one school that they're actually letting parents override students into the class even if they don't meet the multiple measures. This is a SATS violation. So, something I'm gonna have to look into. So, and look, and if they fail, they fail. And especially if these students who should have never been in there in the first place fail, then they fail. And if your administration comes back at you and says, well, you can't fail these students. I had like a battle with the entire lacrosse team at one high school last spring.
That's not exaggeration.
No, I mean, it was like 5 parents called me in a row. They coordinated this and they didn't get what they wanted because those students didn't do what they were supposed to do. So I know you can't do anything about who shows up in there, but you just teach your class the way it's supposed to be done. You grade the way that you're supposed to grade. And then if they come at you at the back end, you send them to me. You don't need to worry about it otherwise. But we do need to talk about these enrollment caps just because the grading load's a little too much. So that's that. So. But yeah, I mean, again, this is why I need to hear these things from you guys so I can try to go to battle with you guys.
I'm the only one with so many students. It's like I'm being punished.
Well, guidance doesn't like me
I don't like being poor either, because I've been raised in
anymore.
it.
I have obviously asked.
So-
I wish we knew what we could do about it. I don't know.
Well, this was never supposed to become the senior English for Greenville County Schools.
Right.
That's what this is becoming. I mean, this is supposed to be for your high achieving, exceptional students. Now,
And they're not taking Brit Lit, which I hate. They're missing Brit Lit now.
because they're doing this instead, yeah. Now, I'm hoping that when we eventually become a real early college program, because we're not an early college program, right? We call ourselves that, it's not. We know the difference between early college and dual enrollment, right? We're a dual enrollment program. Early colleges, they would actually graduate high school with their associate's degree. That is the eventual plan. So at some point, you may get to teach Brit Lit at a high school or something, because they're gonna have a lit course, right? So that's the goal, but I mean, we need to be especially cognizant of who we put in this at that point, because you're talking about starting kids that are just coming out of their sophomore year, or maybe in their sophomore year through these college, like a whole AAAS degree. So it can't just be, my mommy said that I need to take this, and that's what we take as placement measures. That's not gonna work, right? And that's not on you guys. That is something that I need to try to deal with a little bit more. I don't know how much traction I can get, but that is not on you.
Are y'all hiring?
I'm trying, because we lost a full timer in Becca, and so I'm gonna try to,
Oh
That's
my
the
gosh.
hope.
But I have.
I know,
to
that just looks so glamorous.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
do you want to show them the website?
I mean, do y'all know about the website?
Well, before we do that, any other questions?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Issues with Achieve or,
I emailed you about the ebook not loading. I emailed you
Okay.
a lot, I'm sorry.
no, that's fine, Okay, your ebook, but it's not loaded. I want to try to create that on one of our computers and see, just sort of get a sense of, so I've tried with some other people and sort of check, and their ebooks are loaded, so I'm gonna figure out what. And then I'll reach out to, so let's talk after the meeting. We'll take a look at it. Okay.
This will be very quick.
Okay.
And then you'll record the spare parts PD for us.
Yeah, the PD
That's
is for spare parts, we'll
make
do
sure.
record it,
Okay.
and I'll send that recording link out.
All right, y'all, I'm gonna be sharing my screen for the people tuning in. So I cannot take credit for any of this. This has all been Becca. I have made some updates, but basically the idea is that, we've really had struggles with people getting access to different things at different times on the adjunct end, and us having very little control over that. So what's been created is a Wix site specifically for adjuncts that will house all kinds of stuff that you need access to, just so that you can kind of get your head in the game and start planning and know what's coming down the pipe in terms of 101, 102, for people who are brand new, the different kinds of online tools, or if we're moving to things like Achieve, things like that, we can have tutorials, all that kind of stuff, so that no matter what happens with the school, and no matter how badly they are doing. This lives outside of all that. There's no login, there's no any of that kind of credentialing stuff, access issues. It's just gtcenglish.com.
Now, how many of you guys have seen this already? Just this
Yeah.
one?
You've
Or
seen it
last-
already?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
all of these are returning people, I think.
Okay, so we can-
Ramona's shaking
okay.
her head, she doesn't have, are we gonna send a link out to everybody?
We'll send a link out to everybody. We're still kind of updating English 101. English 102 has been pretty much fully updated. But this just has like, you know, some documents and things like that. So that again, if you can't get access to things, you'll always be able to come here.
And so it should be something that you can, it's not just like, hey, adjunct training, I did this, I took the quizzes, I'm done with it. It should be something that you should bookmark, that you can go back to as a reference tool.
We can add like the citation stuff. We're gonna, I talked to Rachel Cobb, we're gonna add the GTC teaching tidbits. That's the video series that she makes with people from all over the college where they talk about different technologies or teaching practices or whatever that they're having really good success with. And these like very like 2-minute videos. So just a good place to just have lots of resources kind of all the time that we're always adding to and building upon, and that you can always feel confident that even if you can't get access to Blackboard or Outlook or whatever, that you can always just go to gtcenglish.com and what you need will be in there. So I'll be in charge of keeping up with that now that Becca's going. And if there's anything you'd like to see in there that's not in there and you feel like would be helpful, just let me know. liz.wilfong@gbltec.edu and I will put it in there. I'll make sure it's in there. Okay, that's it.
We say one thing actually about, again, sort of going back to the late start date and what to do with those modules. As Chuck said, you know, let's just make the module 1 to module 2. I think that works, but it doesn't quite work with Achieve, partly because the way it's set up, they have to do a practice test and then they have to complete a study plan. So I originally had the practice test for week 1, study plan for week 2. The study plan takes time to do. So like if they waited until Sunday night to do the practice test, they're not gonna have time to do the study plan. So you can still do it that way, but if you're gonna do it that way, you probably want maybe as even a class activity, if they have their laptops and can get into Achieve, which if, just have them do the practice test that first day. So that way it's done. And then, because how it works, they do the practice test and how they do on the practice test determines the study plan they get. So the study plan gives them exercises. So like if they miss all the questions about sentence fragments, the study plan is going to give them exercises on sentence fragments. So, you know, if you have them do the practice test, on day 1, so now they have the whole week to do the study plan. That way would work without having to sort of mess around with anything else. Anything else?
One thing, because you're all early college people, please realize you need to use Gmail for your emails with students within Blackboard. Please don't use your k.12.sc. whatever, all right?
Or encourage them to use messages, course messages within Blackboard, then you don't even have to deal with any of that stuff. It's
They
all
can do
within
that.
the
You just won't
internal
see
system.
them the next day with that.
Unless you
but-
check them dutifully.
Yeah, well, no. But we need to not have things, either way is fine. It just needs to be within Blackboard and the GTC system, not the GCS system. All right. And be sure that you're checking your Outlook accounts, because anything from us is going to go to the Outlook account. Though I have a lot of you built in on the adjunct list, if you put the K-12 as kind of your personal email address, it's listed there. But especially then when you're dealing with students and if you have a complaint and I need an email chain and we have to show that that student was definitely one of our students, they need to be emailing from the my.gbltec account as well. All right. That's a better way for me to be able to work in if there are complaints. It's just what we're supposed to be doing. And so most of you that are in here, I don't have a problem with that. There are some others that there's a problem. So just be sure that you're using the GTC emails when needed and separating that out from Google Classrooms, we don't need to be using that in these courses. You don't need to be using your K12.sc emails.
What if like, I combine mine somehow, so everything that goes to
I mean,
the.
if you're forwarding it to one, that's fine.
Okay,
But it just needs to be able to show up on there. And I'll tell you one thing, one reason why is because they archive every email message coming through GDLTEC.
okay.
And if there's a major complaint and they want to go pull an email chain, they need to be able to see it there. They can't pull it from. So if I don't have that, I can't defend actions sometimes. So it's just important that that's what's used, because this is, even though I've heard a couple times today where people are saying, well, our high school comes first. No, you're doing a GTC class. And for me, that comes first when you're doing this. And if they don't want it to come first, then we don't have to offer it in their school. And that's just the way it is. And that's the way I'm going to phrase it. And I may not be your department head, but whatever, you know, it's just what it is.
It's a sword we're dying on.
And you know, that is, I mean, you know, when we're being accredited, they're being accredited, they've got to be the same. They're the same course. So, yeah. Does anybody have any other questions, concerns, comments, needs? Ramona or Beth, are you guys, you two okay?
Yeah, I just want to say that website looks great. Thank y'all. Thanks for the communication and looping us in tonight.
Yeah, that really helped. Thank you, Chad. I appreciate it too.
You know, let us know if you want to do this more often. I mean, you know, we can try to do this a couple times a semester. It's not, it's, you know, we want to make sure that we're here to support you. That's part of our goal as a full-time faculty this year, is to support you guys. So if you don't have anything else and y'all don't have anything else, we are good. So have a wonderful night online. If y'all need the books, I'll give them to you. Y'all take care.
Thank you.
Question, not for the group, but kind of just wondering. Would y'all be okay